Hello, my name's Kathy Bissell. Welcome to the Golf Show 2.0. This week we have an interesting guest who's just come to golf rather recently, and he has a great story. Gary, would you introduce him, please?
We're here with the noted author, Jimmie James. Here's his book, Playing from the Rough. Some people are saying it's the greatest book ever written, but I don't want to be accused of hyperbole. Uh, in this book, Jimmie manages to play the top 100 golf courses in America inside a year, which is not easy to do no matter who you are. So, Jimmie, obviously, you were a pretty successful businessman and made a lot of contacts to pull this off, to get on these courses. Tell us how this started, how this idea started.
Well, it was really a serendipitous idea, like a lot of the serendipitous encounters I had during the year. My wife, in moving to a new job, her first meeting with her board, she went from a position at the University of Virginia to become the dean of the business school at Emory University. And at an early board meeting, she said, I'd like to get my husband on Augusta National. So any of you guys know an Augusta National member? So
did you pick a great wife or what?
Hey, that's an important decision you make in life.
Yes, it is.
So when people ask me, how do you do it? I said, well, you marry the right person first. So, so she got me onto Augusta National. And then she followed that up with a book by John Sabino, which talked about him playing the 100 top courses in the world over a lifetime.
Uh-huh.
And so I was about to retire. As Kathy mentioned, I was about to retire. And I decided, hey, I need something to transition from 100 miles an hour career to more idle days. And seemed like the best thing to do was to reconnect with our country. So I was going to travel to all 50 states, play 2 rounds of golf in each, one with friends and one with strangers. So one at a private course, one at a public course. But then when I read the book from John Sabino, I said, well, that's 100 courses. I'm going to play 100 courses. So why not just play the top 100? It was all math to me. I had no idea. I was very naive. I had no idea what I was committing myself to. Magazine came out a couple of months later from Golf Digest that had their 100 greatest courses. I looked at the list. I said, these are the courses I'm going to play. And over half of them I'd never heard of. Places like Mayakama, Kenyatta, the Valley Club of Montecito, Maidstone. I hadn't heard of Maidstone or Sabonic. So a lot of them I hadn't heard of. But that's how it got started. It was not a whole lot more thought into it than that, and a lot of naivety.
That's all right. Sometimes just going for what you're trying to do works. Believe me, I've been there several times.
You just needed a mission, and so you're off and running now. Did your wife get you on the other 99 courses too?
No, so I decided to make this even a little more challenging. I said, can I get on to, so there were, out of the 100 courses, 87 of the courses were private.
Yeah.
12 were resort courses and 1 public course, Bethpage Flat. So Bethpage and the resort courses, you just need money. And in places like Pebble Beach, a lot of money to get onto them. And so that left 87 courses where I needed invites.
Yes.
And I had 1.
Well, you got a good one first.
But that was an important one, Augusta
Yes,
National. So my goal was, can I get on the other 86 private courses without ever asking for an invite?
Wow.
And so it was through meeting new people. 75% of the people who helped me, I didn't know before I started. So I didn't use that network. I built a new network across the year just from meeting people and talking about what I was doing. So my plan was, I'll play the resort courses as a single, get paired with people in the normal idle time and chatter on the tee box and in between swings. I'd tell them what I was doing. And those that were interested enough, that were sucked into my dream, would offer to help. And those that didn't, we just enjoy our round of golf together. And so I met people, knew people, and it was amazing how quickly you could see the mind starting to work in the mental Rolodexes, them going through their mental Rolodexes. And people would just, hey, I know someone that's a member here. I know someone that's a member there. I have a friend who has a friend that went somewhere with this guy that was over there, and they could probably get you on here. That's actually, as wild as that sounds.
No, it sounds about right.
That's how it happened.
Yes.
Yeah, well, if you're at
that's
Pebble
how golf
Beach,
works.
if you're at Pebble Beach, you're probably playing with some titans of industry because it's not easy to get on, and they're connected. At what point along this mission did you decide maybe I should do a book too to make it even harder?
Well, it seemed like a great story. The book came afterwards, and I started to think about it during the journey and started to take notes because it just seemed like a great story. This kid who was born into poverty to a single mother who eventually have a total of 8 kids out of wedlock. My earliest years were spent in a tin shack, in a wooden shack with a tin roof, no plumbing, no electricity. And the idea, it just seemed like a great story to go from that to standing on the first tee at Augusta National Golf Club, and then follow that with tracing across so many the most manicured golf courses in the country, the most exclusive courses in the country. And I saw it as a reflection of America and the embodiment of the American dream, where grit, determination, and the generosity of others could help you achieve things that you would think are improbable, in some cases impossible, but at best improbable and certainly unimaginable to someone who started life like I did. And so that just seemed like a great story to tell, and a story that would hopefully be one that's inspiring.
We should be doing this on the 4th of July instead of around Memorial Day.
Well, it's a great story, not only from the golf standpoint, but just from being successful in business, as you obviously were. That was no small feat. Did you go to college, and how were you able to manage that?
So at 5 years old, sitting in that wooden shack with a tin roof by a wood burning heater. Actually was a makeshift wood burning heater. It's like an old drum barrel, put on its side, hole cut into it, stack attached, wood goes in, and that's how we got our heat. So sitting next to that with light from a coal oil lamp or kerosene lamp, I vowed to myself that I'd graduate from high school. And I didn't think about college, but at that time, I just wanted to graduate from high school because I didn't know anyone. I didn't know anyone at the time that had done it. So somehow instinctively at 5, I knew that in order to have a different life than the one I saw around me, I would have to do something different than what those around me were doing.
Yes.
And one of those things was I didn't know anyone that graduated from high school, that went through 12 years of school and graduated. So I was starting there. And then
tell people where were you growing up? Where was this?
I grew up in the piney woods of East Texas, Huntsville, Texas, north of Houston, several hours south of Galveston, off the 115 miles away from the Gulf Coast of Texas. I was born there and grew up closer to the Gulf Coast, closer to Galveston. Born north of Houston, grew up south of Houston.
I lived in Lake Jackson, Texas from age 2 to 5. How about that?
So tell your story. So my mother lived near Lake Jackson she lived in Sweeney. So you know where Sweeney is.
Yes.
If you know Lake Jackson. So on my quest, third course I'm playing, which is Flint Hills National in Wichita, Kansas. My caddy, this guy named Ken, who told me that he was Nebraska by birth, but Kansas by heart. That's where his 14 great grandkids and grandkids were. So he was Kansas by heart. As I'm playing and we're walking those lovely fairways that are framed by trees, and each hole partitioned off from every other hole. They're at this nice Fazio design in Wichita, just outside of Wichita. We start to talk, and it turns out that Ken used to coach, guess where?
Lake
Lake
Jackson.
Jackson. And he coached when I was in high school,
Wow.
and we were at track meets together.
Uh-huh.
And so that started to happen throughout the trip as I went to these golf courses, identifying connections to people and finding out just how small the world could be.
And Lake Jackson is also the headquarters of the greatest convenience chain ever, Buc-ee's.
Is it?
Oh, Buc-ee's. Everybody loves
Buc-ee's is great.
Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's. Thumbs up. If I had more thumbs, I would put them up.
my company that I worked for, ExxonMobil, for my entire career. So I went to college, got a degree in engineering from Prairie View A&M University and HBCU. That's part of the Texas A&M system.
Oh, okay.
Went to work for Exxon out of college, and that's where I spent my entire career, going from engineer to an executive when I retired. And Buc-ee's, we supplied fuel to those Buc-ee's.
Wow.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
Who thought there was going to be a Buc-ee's tie-in in this conversation when it started?
Well,
Raise your
you're
hand.
from Texas, and you've got oil and gas going on, and sooner or later, Buc-ee's is going to come up.
Buc-ee's has to come up.
Yeah.
I didn't know about it at all until my daughter lives north of Austin, and the last time I visited her, we went to the Buc-ee's that's near Waco, and she was all excited and showed me the whole place, and man, it's amazing.
Yeah.
They've come to Florida too, where I live now, so we're excited.
It's just a massive place, and people go there for all sorts of different reasons.
Yes.
But they do not have golf clubs. I've not seen golf clubs there. I've not seen a putting green or a tee box or a golf simulator yet.
Only because
but
they don't know.
Let's not give them any ideas.
They probably will have golf polos with they ought to, really, they should have golf polos with the Buc-ee logo on the chest. I mean, would I not buy 3 of those?
Yeah.
Well, so back to your adventure. How did you plan your travel? Because you were trying to do 100 places in a year, and we've only got 365 or 66 days. So that probably took some serious planning.
And
So I'll tell you.
Did it start at Augusta?
Started at Augusta.
Okay.
That was my first course. And then I played Kinlock in Virginia. In between Kinlock and Augusta, I played at a municipal course rich in golf history for African Americans. I only thought it fitting to go and do that. So when reading the book, there are a couple of contrasts that come out. One is I contrast my life from the life I started, born into a world that lacked almost everything, to find myself tracing across the best lawns in a world that lacked almost nothing. And also the transition of golf from a place where people like me were unwelcome to all of these places to a place where now I was invited into every single one of them. And in between Augusta and Kinlock, I played at East Potomac Golf Course on the Tidal Basin in Washington, D.C., which was integrated well before the curve, before a lot of other courses back in the 40s, when 4 black guys showed up and played, and the next day the Secretary of Interior, Harold Ickes, he desegregated the park, the U.S. parks, all the golf courses in the National Parks Organization. So
by edict, probably.
By edict. So that and that's how it all started. That was my start. And the third course was there, the one we talked about in Kansas. And I went from there, just meeting people along the way, getting invites at various places, from meeting people, playing with people, talking with people.
give these people, give the folks a highlight. They want to hear more about you playing at Augusta National. What was it like? And give us your highlight.
So I played. My host is a legend himself. At least his family, they're like royalty. The Yates family. Danny Yates was my host. So being there, being at Augusta, when that gate opens and you're riding down Magnolia Lane and you're looking straight ahead at that antebellum clubhouse with the wraparound porch and the square columns, and you're thinking about the Masters tournament and how the camera rolls down and brings you up to that clubhouse, and it's just magical. And literally, I'm thinking, wow, I'm at Augusta National. And so we go in, we put our shoes on and all, and we practice, take a few practice swings, go over, play the par 3, where
nice.
You would think that you start off really nervous and then you get relaxed and your scores get better. The opposite was true for me. I started off just fine, but as we continued around the ponds on the par 3 course, I got more nervous, and my body tensed and my scores got tight. I mean, my body tensed and my swing got tight and my scores went up. And so we played the par 3. And
Did you have enough golf balls?
I had enough golf balls.
Okay.
We went through, we had lunch. I had a pimento cheese sandwich. You can't have lunch without having a pimento cheese sandwich. And then I truly didn't remember exactly the path. I have a very good memory, but I still to this day don't remember the time between being in the dining room in the clubhouse and being on the first tee. I can't remember. I didn't remember at the moment. I was just floating because I'm about to go out and play the championship course at Augusta National, and it was so surreal. And then, so Danny tees off first, and he tells me, "You're up, Jimmie." And I mean, I am tense, and I'm nervous, and I don't want to embarrass myself. I don't want to embarrass my host, and I'm just thinking, what if I hook this ball or slice?
I hope my caddy doesn't hate me for this.
Yes, and we had a gallery around us because people were coming up to say hi to Danny, and so there were in the next group, so there were probably about 10 to 15 people out there watching. So I was nervous. Fortunately, my ball landed in the fairway, just a little left of Danny's ball. It wasn't a long drive, 220, 225 yards, but I was in the fairway. And the book I write, literally, because it's true, my butt cheeks relaxed a little bit.
Well, I think the important thing to note is you blew it past Danny Yates. So
no, I did not blow it past Danny. It was a little short of his.
Oh, it was short of his. Well,
it was a little to the left and a little short of his. But
okay.
So I'm trying to still get relaxed. I figure I talked to my caddy. His name was Eddie, a guy from Washington, Georgia, and Eddie gives me a 6 iron. I put the ball on the green momentarily. It rolled off to the right, and I said, "Still, I'm just off the green. I'm going to par my first hole on the championship course at Augusta National." A chip and 3 putts later, I walk off.
Yeah.
I had more putts than swings at Augusta National.
Oh, easily, yeah.
Those greens are just diabolical. They are.
Well, and at most of our skill levels, those guys make it look easy because they know they have to hit it below the hole. Even if we know where to hit it, we're not good enough to do it. And so if you're above the hole, you're dead. If you're below the hole and then you try to make it and miss and hit it above the hole, now that's an instant recipe for 4-putting. So now you're afraid to hit the uphill putts too. And when the next thing you know, you got 42 putts, and but you were at Augusta, so you let it go. That's
That's
just part
cool.
of the deal.
And so by the time I get so two more two I didn't get a par until the fourth hole, which is flowering crabapple, par
That's
three,
hard. That hole.
170 yards. 170 yards. I hit a high 6-iron. There's a bunker in front of the green. I hit a high, and the pin is tight behind that bunker. And I hit
Wow.
a high 6-iron that lands between the pin and the bunker. And now I'm thinking, it's birdie time. So I'm
You
walking.
got
I take that
bragging
long
material
walk from the tee box with my putter in hand, and then I leave it 2 inches short.
there.
Dead center, 2 inches short. But
Jeff Sluman made a 1 there. I don't want you to feel bad. Three is okay, I guess.
yeah, so
Everybody wants to know what you did on number 12. I mean, that's got to be the first thing people ask you, right? Besides,
yes.
how'd you get in and can I get in?
So I was commuting between Houston and Atlanta at the time. My office was in Houston. My family was in Atlanta. And in Houston, there's this course called Tour 18. I think that's the course they filmed 10 Cup on. And so they have Amen Corner. So I went there and practiced Amen Corner. But it's not the same.
I've played there, and number 12 is you can't replicate the giant hill that is Augusta Country Club behind it, but
no, it's not the same. So for Amen Corner, number 11, I hit a good drive and and an approach shot, and I'm just off the green. So I chip, but I sort of hit the pristine Augusta turf, and my chip ends up 6 feet short of the hole, but it's below the hole. Pins on the right front, and 6-foot putt. It felt like 20 feet.
Oh, sure.
Again, I left it short. So I got a bogey there. Then go to 12. The hard thing about 12 is
everything.
Everything, yeah.
So the green is only 10 yards deep.
Yeah, it's I don't know what the measurement is.
Most recreational golfers have trouble controlling with distance control within. If you hit it 5 yards of where you're trying to hit it, you're good. 5 yards of where you're trying to hit it there could leave you short in the creek, long in the bunker, left in the bunker. There's just so much that could go wrong. Yes. Well, my caddy tells me it's 155 yard shot. My caddy tells me I need a 6-iron. I think I need a 7. He says, there's a breeze. You know how caddies use excuses to get you to hit the longer club. So I take it and I hit the best 6-iron of my life.
Oh, no.
Good.
The ball soars high, goes directly over the flag, and plops down in the bunker behind the green. Oh. And now I've got to worry about Rays Creek in that sloping, slick green. That green that slopes toward Rays Creek. So I chip out behind the green. So to my right, I chip out. The flag's on the left front. So I chip out to the right there. Ball lands on the green, rolls off. I chip up to 3 feet, then miss the putt at double bogey. Hit a great drive. Last hole on Amen Corner, hit a great drive on 13, 235 yards out. Eddie asked me how much I want to lay up to. I'm like, lay up? I look over there at the pine where Phil Mickelson hit that spectacular shot between the trees off the pine straw onto the green, and I'm like, that was his moment. This is my moment. I'm not laying up.
You didn't come 3,000 miles to lay up, damn it.
That's right. Let me have my 3-wood. And it felt really good until the ball came careening off and to the right in that confluence between the 13th and 14th fairway. So hit a nice pitch onto the green, and I've got a 10, 12 footer. And Mike Eddie says, let's get you a birdie. And I did it again because I'm thinking, Remember Tiger's putt from above the hole?
Which one?
That,
I don't remember which you
that
said.
just
Do
kept
you remember?
going and going and going and going, and it's in Rays Creek.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Like,
right.
I left it short again.
That's
And
all
well,
right.
that's look.
but
That was Tiger's fault.
that was Tiger's fault.
Get him on
He
the
owes me,
phone right
Tiger
now.
owes me a birdie.
That's
So
right.
when you see him, tell him he owes me a birdie. So that's it. That's how I played Amen Corner. And then, the rest of it, it's just, I write in the book too that Einstein taught us that the passage of time is really just an illusion. And it proved that at Augusta National. It just
Oh,
evaporated. The
that's
time,
interesting.
we were
Okay.
on 18, taking our caps off and shaking hands before I knew it. But it was an amazing, amazing experience.
What was the last golf course you played?
Wade Hampton. So this tells you how impossible it is. And I know that probably sounds strange to say something I did is actually impossible. Wade Hampton was closed for most of those 12 months.
Oh,
It opened a week and a half before my deadline.
why was
So
it closed? Were they redoing
they
something?
were renovating.
Ah,
And so it opened a week and a half, and they didn't allow members to bring guests. So they allowed me to play a week after it had been open, my very last day, my 365th day. So I'd wanted the ocean course at Kiowa to be my 100th course, because that's the first course of significance I played. It's like a home course. We have a house in Kiowa. So I wanted the ocean course to be number 100. And it ended up being number 99 because I couldn't play Wade Hampton until the last day.
yeah.
But that was my
I was
last.
going to mention that because it was number 99. It really ruined the book for me.
So, but tell you what, Gary, you know what I'm doing? My launch of the book. The book's out, Playing from the Rough. It's out on June 11th.
Oh,
And
it's not at my local Amazon yet. Okay.
it's not. You have your copy. You have a hard copy, and I noticed that Kathy has one of the galleys, and you have an advanced copy, Gary, that you got to read. So they're headed from the warehouses to the bookstores now. But my inaugural launch will be at the Ocean Course
Oh, that's
great.
wonderful.
on June 11th, which is
I'm
the
glad they're
day.
doing that for
June
you.
11th was the day that I completed the 100 courses. So my book is launching on June 11th at the Ocean Course. So now the Ocean Course will be first.
Okay. Well,
I used
back
to
up one
work
second
for.
because Kathy asked you this before and we got sidetracked with the adventures. It's one thing to get invited on the top 100 courses. It's another thing to plan out the logistics of the trip, because you
Yeah.
wouldn't want to say play Bel Air in California and then your next round is a day later in Maine or wherever. How did you work that out? And maybe, other than the fact that you have a great wife, how did she fall for this idea to let you play golf for an entire year? But
Yeah.
to the first part.
So let me answer that last question first. So as an executive with ExxonMobil, I actually ran operations for places all around the world. And I was gone most of the time when I was working. I was only gone 82 days to play the top 100 courses. So I was home a significantly longer period of time than when I was working.
Okay.
So now to get back to the other part of the logistics, I wish that I would have been able to optimize the travel based upon where the courses are and the time of year and all of that. But since I had to get invites,
Yep.
I went when I got invited and I worked out the logistics then. And
Okay.
so one way to get a sense of this that I tell people is, let's just say a friend says to you, I want you to travel to 100 different places this year and have a cup of coffee at a Starbucks. That would be overwhelming and daunting to most people.
Well,
Yeah.
Gary has traveled a lot, so he could probably handle that. I've traveled a lot, so I could probably handle that. But
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 the
you
average
you
person,
don't have to get invited to Starbucks.
no,
right? That so throw into that mix that you got to get invited.
yeah,
And so there were, and you get calls like I did on a Thursday night when I was on Monday going to be in Colorado. A call that says from one of the guys in my group at Augusta, Bill T-Berg, calls me on Thursday and say, Jimmy, can you play Oakmont on Sunday and Monday? When I already had an airline ticket to be in Colorado playing
Oh,
on
man.
Monday. But when you get a call for a place like Oakmont, Augusta, Chicago Golf Club, Seminole,
Yeah.
Shinnecock, the answer
But yes.
is yes. You figure out the other stuff later.
That's
And
exactly
so
right.
I said yes, and I figured out the other stuff later. So I had things like that, last minute calls. I had some biblical weather, the mudslides,
Oh yeah,
in Santa Barbara.
yeah, California.
I was out there. I was in LA getting ready to play the Valley Club at
Yeah.
Montecito the next day when those mudslides came and
Yeah.
washed part of the course away.
Yeah,
So that was changing. Mayacamba and Santa Rosa.
yeah,
The wildfires were that year. The wildfires came within yards of the clubhouse, the structures there, went around them and burned things down on the other side. But the golf course had some scorching, but for the most part, it was preserved. Hurricanes. The Atlanta airport lost one evening, lost right before I was, less than 12 hours before I was supposed to fly out on the trip. They lost primary and secondary power and closed down the entire airport. So
that includes the Varsity hamburger stand inside the airport, which is a
everything was done. And so you have to deal with all of those things. So I called on one of my trips, because you got hotel, rent a car, airline tickets, getting to the club, all of this stuff. I used to have someone that did logistics for me. I called her up and I said, I just want to thank you and let you know I now realize how hard your job was. You got me to all these places all around the world, and I'm just trying to get to places in the U.S., and it's a lot of work.
Well, I feel like we could go on telling stories all day. Before we wrap it up, give us one course that was maybe the most pleasant surprise, or maybe a course you didn't know about it and you got there and it blew your socks off.
Kenyatta, which is this private course owned by one individual, 0 members, no professional staff, just Mike Boudreau, the golf course superintendent, and his grounds crew.
Okay.
It's in southern Illinois, across the border from Terre Haute, Indiana, up US Highway 1. And the place is it reminded me of when I was a little boy out in the country, just going on these solitary walks through the woods. And I was the only person, only 100 or so people play the course a year. That day, they set the course up just for me. There was one little pyramid of balls on the driving range. The driving range only has like 6 or 7 spots. One little pyramid of balls. And then they set up the tips and the back tees. I played from the back tees, not the tips. And I played the front 9 by myself. I usually play pretty fast, but that day, and it's no caddy, so it was a cart. I slow rolled my cart between greens and tee boxes, just taking it in. And then when I walked across the fairways and greens, my footprints were the first footprints in that early morning dew. And it was just the symphony of nature and me. I thought to myself, the boy who didn't have a bedroom or a bed by himself now has an entire golf course.
It's the kind of place where you take a divot and you go, your first thought is, oh no, I've ruined it.
Right. It's that pristine. It's that pristine. And then the back nine, Mike played with me. Mike Woodrow, the golf course superintendent, he played with me and commenced the birdieing every hole.
Wow.
And I accused him of putting the pins where his best game was, and everyone favored his game. He said, "Jimmy, you still got to make the putts."
Okay.
It was a lot of fun. So that was a very special. That was a special place.
I'm telling you, people are going to be envious of your decision to do this, to try and play all 100 courses without trying to pull strings or this, that, or the other thing, just to rely on invitations that you had extended to you, given to you, just serendipitously, like you said, and it worked out so that you played the top 100. I mean, that's just a fabulous, fabulous story.
I mean, the man fought off mudslides, hurricanes, fires, volcanic eruptions, meteorites, aliens, dinosaurs. It's all here in this book. In about 2 weeks, June 11th, Playing from the Rough. Jimmie James. What a treat for you to be on and tell us about that, Jimmy. I can't wait, well, I've already read it, but I can't wait for other people to get a hold of this book.
Yeah, they'll enjoy it.
And enjoy enjoy the energy and what's the word I'm looking for, Kathy? There's just this optimism and this energy in your voice and the way you tell it. If you don't feel good after you read this book, then you're possibly already dead.
Well, thank you guys. It's been a pleasure. What I'll close with is, I found too, under the common passion, the heat from the common passion of golf, differences just melt away.
Oh, that's wonderful.
We have fallen in love with a wonderful game.
Yes.
Yes.
You can never have too many plugs. Here it is, Playing from the Rough.